All right, we are recording. So, now's the time for the exciting part, folks. Creating a item that you can equip on your character. It's animated. You'll see it when you're actually in the game. You'll see it on your character. You will see it on your character in the inventory. You'll see it on your character while the character is walking around during gameplay. But here's the thing, we have to start at the basics, and the basics are actually item properties. Item properties are a little bit like event flags. These are something which you can create, and there will be a list of them that's sort of hidden under the hood inside the main editor. And then when you create an item can either have one of these item properties or not have it. For example, an overskirt for mares that's designed to keep them dry will have item property overskirt for mares, and the properties keeps flank dry and keeps tail dry. If it's a short skirt, then it would just have keeps flank dry. If it's not waterproof at all, then it would be overskirt for mares, and none of these keeps X dry properties. Actually, if it was a short overskirt, it would be overskirt for mares and keeps flank dry. The properties that I have now are ones that are already attached to some of the equipment slots. The idea is that when you create an equipment slot, you can have certain item properties required on an item before that item can go into that slot. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to add another item property and call it bracelet for mares. Now I don't actually intend for this to be an item in the game in general, but I'm just going to click OK here. So now I've added that item property, and if I reopen item properties, there it is right at the bottom. Anyways, let's start by adding an equipment slot for Fluttershy here. And at the moment, I don't have any background for her equipment. I'm going to fix that. I actually have, let's see. I actually have something that I got off of eBay, and until and unless we have a background for this, it is not going to look right. This stuff is going to be in place. You're going to see the items flashing like this and with after images behind them. There are some buttons here that allow you to quickly and easily do a couple of things, but before I try that, I'm going to set the equipment image. I believe it's FS dummy PNG backdrop. Yep, there it is. This is just a picture of a Fluttershy toy that I grabbed off of eBay. Now that I have this, it actually shows this properly. It shows the default items inside these slots, and every now and then it'll switch back to having the icon for the slot flashing. When you create an equipment slot, which I will do now, you have to give it a name. I'll give it the name Bracelet. Then you have to select an icon for this slot. You can make the icon any one of the standard icons that we have here. You could make it one of these classic elements, like you could make the slot be a fire slot, for example. Of course, that isn't exactly what you think of when you think bracelet, so instead, if you want to change the name or the icon of it, you can click this thing here. You can just click OK for that to keep it as it is. Let's go to equipment here. These are probably what you'd expect for an equipment slot. There's different hats here, different pieces of jewelry. That's the bracelet right there. There's also a necklace, ring, earrings, crown. There's stuff that you wear on your body, shirt, jacket, coat, cloak, breastplate. There's some more equipable items here. There's shoulder pad, belt, shorts, pants, skirt, stuff for the feet, socks. You can't have pony game without those. Tennis shoe, boot, cowboy boot, bangle. And then at the bottom there's some miscellaneous stuff like gloves, backpacks, bag, umbrella, bow tie, shield. down here there's some horse tack, including the saddle, which you see right here, a bridle, which you almost never see in the show, and a horseshoe. Since this is going to be a bracelet, I'll pick the bracelet for the icon here. And now I'm going to tell you about these controls down here. When you have when you have absolutely nothing selected, then you have these controls down here, like flip slots vertically. This will put the bracelet, the boots at the top, the tail cover at the top, the hat, the cloak, the jacket. Those are all flipped around. The saddle's down here instead of up here. You can flip them again. You also have the ability to flip them horizontally if you feel like it and put the hood over here, bracelet down here, etc. But I think I like it better this way. This one lets you set the equipment image. You can also change it so that instead of the equipment being horizontal, it's vertical. I call it portrait and landscape. This would be much better for a humanoid character. Someone who's walking around on two legs, this would be the way you'd want to do it. And actually, inventory screens for characters with vertical equipment, in that case, the equipment would be over on the left and the items that you can equip would be over on the right, and some of the controls would be up here instead of way on the left. But again, I want to stick with landscape orientation. And if you create a slot that you don't like, you can select it and remove it. Actually, you don't even need to select it. You just click remove slot, and then you have you can choose which slot to remove. I'm not going to do that, obviously. This one, this field down here, I think I explained it in another video. Basically, the game won't allow you to close an inventory screen unless you have an item with each of the item properties listed here equipped. If you don't have any if you don't have any items listed down here, then that isn't a requirement as part of your game. Anyhow, when you have an item selected, then obviously things change quite a bit. You can set a starting item to go into this slot. You can add item properties that block this slot. I'll explain that in a minute. Down here are the item properties that need to be on a given item in order for you to be allowed to equip that item in that slot. For example, if I click on Add Item Property here and go to Bracelet for Mares, now any item that has the item property Bracelet for Mares can be equipped here. If you create a slot that has no requirements, then any old item that's equipable can be equipped in that slot. But let's also talk about this one, item properties that block this slot. The bracelet is going to appear about here, and I figure if a pony has a jacket on, then they won't be able to put a bracelet on, just because the bracelet is so big. So I'm going to add an item property that blocks this slot, jacket for mares. If Fluttershy has any item that is jacket for mares, like this slot here will only take jackets for mares. If Fluttershy has a jacket on, then she can't have a bracelet on. She'll have to have some other way to keep herself dry, like a saddle umbrella or something like that. The reason that I put this item properties that block the slot thing here is because, for example, you know how adventurers can't wield a shield if they're already carrying a two-handed weapon? That's basically the reason here. I wanted to add the ability to set up restrictions like that, where if you're carrying certain types of items, it'll be impossible to carry certain other types of items. Or I should say, have equipped certain types of items. You can still have those items in your inventory, you just can't have them all equipped at the same time. So I click OK, and those changes to Fluttershy's equipment are saved. And I think I need to start a second part to this video now. And we are recording again. At this point, I think it is time to show you the item in question. So I go to my dummy items room here, go to the items, and create a new item. Let's see. Need to pick a graphic for this. And unfortunately, unfortunately I can't spell bracelet. these are some test images that show rarity with this bracelet equipped, even though I'm using Fluttershy instead. Let's see. They're all so tiny. Let's just go with this one. Right motionless. Give it the background color there. Under controls, I will call it bracelet. Item description, a bracelet for mares that lets you move much faster. Going to give it equipped in inventory, and the controls will be, the item property will be bracelet for mares. That'll be the sole one. Click OK. And it's just occurred to me that I didn't actually make any buffs to go along with that. So I go back to playable character buffs. Let's see. Going to add a buff. Silver, gray. Select icon, equipment. I think I'll just use the bangle icon for that. I'll call it speed bracelet, or better yet, silver bracelet. I can't spell today. Silver bracelet. A silver bracelet that lets a mare run faster. Give it 0 time. Definitely we want directional animations. I'm going to add a buff effect to this where, let's see, movement speed boost. I'm going to give this pony a lot of extra speed, 8. So now I have the fun of populating all of this stuff, all of these animations. Fortunately, I have it all in one place. Let's see, bracelet left motionless. Lime. Now this tiny, tiny little gray thing is supposed to be over her left hoof. But I think I'm going to be able to see it better if I if I start with the right stand animation. So that would be right motionless. Lime background. Let's start with 5 offsets for X and a 10 offset for Y. It's pretty close. Let's try a 4 offset for X. That looks about right. All right, let's keep going. I'll do multiple files here. Clicking on multiple files lets you select multiple files at a time. So I believe everything is under the bracelet or bracelet. Yeah. Okay, right 1 through right 10. Open these up. Move the 10 image down to the bottom. Set the background color to lime for all of these. And let's see, 4 is the X offset. 10 is the Y offset. Let's see how it looks. And it works okay. Sometimes you can hardly see it, but it works. One of these. Let's see, bracelet, left air. Wait, no, not left air, right air. And let's see if the same thing holds true. 4 over, 10 down. Yeah, it's sufficient. All right, so for left stand, let's try -4 and 10. Let's try -5. Okay, let's stick with the -5, and once again, let's do multiple files. Bracelet, 1 through 10. Move 10 down to the bottom. And moment of truth time. Let's see if -5 and 10 work for all of these. Preview it. Yeah, you can see it moving around pretty well. Still on her right hoof. which is perfect. And this time we want left air. Set the background color. And there it is right on her. So the silver bracelet buff is there. Normally, I don't actually have any buff effects attached to these animations for different equipable items. I'm just doing this one for demonstration purposes. In principle, you can have items that buff your character in various ways, like adding attack power, adding maximum health, you name it. Any one of these effects is fair game for an equipped item, but for my game, at least for now, the items are purely cosmetic. There's attack boost, damaging touch, which means when enemies touch you, they take damage, which doesn't actually negate the damage they do to you unless you pick invincible. There's heal over time, jump boost, maximum health boost. Slain enemies spawn hearts. That's like Rarity's effect. If you destroy an enemy with her, then they leave a heart behind. Maximum speed boost, spreading shots, consider event flag to be off, and consider event flag to be on. These will override the actual values for event flags for as long as the buff is active on you. And for equipment, that means as long as you have the item equipped. I'll just show you what this looks like. Okay, there are no actual event flags yet, so the buff can't override any flags. Never mind, I'm not going to show you. I wish I could, but I guess that's not going to happen. So I'll just click OK, and there's the silver bracelet way at the bottom. Click OK again, and let's go back to the dummy items room. Oh, there's already a window open for this room. Lovely. So there's the silver bracelet. Click on Edit. Controls. Effects on being consumed or equipped. Then we go to Add Buff, and way at the bottom here is the silver bracelet. So whenever you have this bracelet for Mare's item equipped on your character, the silver bracelet buff will also be active on your character. That will get the animation onto your character for that silver bracelet buff. And because the buff's animation is directional, and because I set it up so that when the animations have exactly the same number of frames, the animation of the buff will be synchronized with the animation of the character, this will essentially draw the bracelet onto the character whenever the item is equipped. So click OK, and I'll just put the bracelet here just for the sake of knowing that it's there. It's just this tiny little gray speck, but oh well. I believe the next step is to show you how to get an NPC to drop that bracelet. Okay, we're recording again. Now this is the very first stage, the very first room that you get in. You spawn right by the iconic balloon. You got Big Mac and Spike here that you can talk to. I think what I want to do is create another NPC, another enemy, where if you kill that enemy, then the enemy will drop a bracelet. And let's see. In order to do this, I'll go with Custom NPC. We'll add a behavior. You'll see this Dropped Items tab. I will start with that. I'll put dummy here for the behavior. The behavior isn't going to be a dummy behavior. It's going to be the real behavior. It's more like the NPC is going to be a dummy. Let's see. Graphics, only one animation. I do not need to make this elaborate in any way. The point is just to have it drop something. Let's see. I think I'm just going to do this and have the number 1 there. Hitboxes. Let's see. I'm just going to use the weak point. Hitbox 444400. And as you can see, this yellow hitbox, which you can hardly see against the blue, that covers most of this, which is good enough for me. Let's see, general. I'm going to add a switch rule here so that it can actually be killed. Let's see. Upon taking enough damage, despawn until the player re-enters. I'm going to give it 10 hit points. Click OK, and there it is, the dummy rule there. It doesn't need maximum HP on the global scale. The hit points just for this behavior are fine. Name and faceplate, I'm just going to call it dummy. For the faceplate image, I'm just going to go with the 1 here. And now we get to the fun part, drop items, dropped items. I will add an item drop, and just to show you how it works, I'm going to add some standard items here. You can have it drop a checkpoint. You can have it always drop a heart if you like. In fact, you can have it drop a few if you feel like it. Let's see. But you can also have it drop custom items. Let's see. The real item that I want it to drop is just the silver bracelet. Unfortunately, the ordering of the items when you add an item that's a custom item is scattershot. You don't know what order they're going to come in. It's too bad. Probably I should add something that like alphabetizes this or something like that. Let's see. I sure hope I haven't... Okay, here we go. Bracelet. There it is. Oh, and the color of each one of these corresponds to what type of item it is. For items that are neither equipable nor consumable, they would be red here. Equipable items are blue, consumable items are green, and these pink ones, those are for standard items. Like if I add a standard item here where... let's see, let's have it drop an opal. Let's see, a citrine. And let's see, a sapphire, I think. Yep. Those items are going to go flying away as soon as I destroy one of these ones here. It's also going to leave a checkpoint flag and a heart and a bracelet. So I click OK. I'm going to plop this one right here. It's obviously a dummy NPC, but it exists only for test purposes and only to show you what the bracelet looks like. Actually, if I feel like it, I can also have the bracelet painted onto the items layer here. It's a new layer that wasn't there before. And once again, it's completely scattershot. There we go, there's the bracelet. So I import the bracelet and there it appears. It's alongside all of these smaller standard items which you can import using this button here. But I'm just going to put the bracelet, I'm going to put the bracelet someplace where you can actually see it. Let's try right, that's the problem. I'm going to put it up here. It almost looks like it's part of the eye of this. In fact, I think I'll make it look like it's part of the eye of this bust here. Anyways, I will save it. And let's see. I'm just going to call it testing bracelet. Nope, not going to pack it. Oh! It just clicked in my skull that there is something that I forgot to show you guys. Let's go back here to the dummy items room. Edit this item. What I forgot to show you was the equipment overlay. And actually you can't set the equipment overlay in this, you can't set the equipment overlay that way. Let's go to Fluttershy here. Open up her equipment. And let's go to Preview. Add an item. Actually, cancel. As long as she's got this slicker, she has this blued out. The bracelet slot is completely blanked out as long as she's got a jacket on. But if I add the bracelet item here, which unfortunately does not show up again, Okay, come on. Bracelet. Click OK, and there's the bracelet right there. I can equip it, but now, shoot, how do I get it to actually show up on her? I do have an image, but I have to get it in position. And unfortunately, it's only while you're previewing the equipment here, with this button down here, that you can actually modify the overlay. You have to select the item up here, then click on Browse Image. No, I don't have that. Let's try Dummy Overlay. No, Silver Bracelet Overlay.png. And it shows up way up here. So let's set the transparent color to white. There we go. And the X offset, you have to make some guesses here. Let's see, Y offset 150. All right. Let's try 200. Oops, that's 2,000, way too much. 220, too much. 210, just about right. And basically you got to keep trying out values here until you get it just right. Let's try 60, too high. 66, 207. I think that's about right for where the bracelet should be on her. Obviously it's just one thick line that I drew in paint, but it's enough. While the bracelet is equipped, you see it on her. When it's not equipped, you don't see it on her. And all of these other items, the hood, the raincoat, all of those do not have overlays yet. I'm just using the bracelet overlay, and I'm keeping it simple just for the purposes of this tutorial. So I click OK, and now the bracelet has that overlay on it. So if you equip a bracelet in the equipment screen in the actual game, you will see the bracelet on her. Now I think I want to modify this so that she starts out with an umbrella instead of starting out with a slicker. So set starting item. She's got a raincoat there. This does not default to the equipped item. You click on the remove button here, and now there's nothing in that slot. Set starting item, remove. Now she's still got the boots, but I don't want her to get soaked. So instead I think I'll give her a big blue saddle umbrella, and that'll keep her dry. So we've got the items that block the slot, the required items for the slot. I think we're good. I'll have to save it again, but I'll show you what it looks like in the game next. Alright, we are recording again. Here is Twilight. There she is picking up objects, and as you can see, there's the bracelet. It doesn't take much to kill those rough rubies there. And since I didn't have a damaging hitbox on that NPC, it won't hurt me to touch it. As you can see, I have grabbed that bracelet. Let's switch to Fluttershy here. She's still got the tail cover on. She's got a big blue umbrella, blue boots. And right here we have her equipment panel. Now there is a trick to this. If you right-click on one of these equipment slots, then the game automatically sorts everything by what is equipable in that slot. So I right-click on this, and rain hats are displayed, and there she is with a yellow rain hat. If I put the red hood on her, there she is with a red hood. But I think that's going to be a little bit distracting. What we want is the bracelet. So I right-click on that, and there's the bracelet. It appears right there on her. And eventually I'm going to have it to the point where you can see any item that you equip. You put a raincoat on her, that raincoat appears here. You put a hood on her, the hood appears here. Boots, same story. Saddle umbrella, right above her. I will have a system for that in a later video, but for this video I'm keeping it simple and sticking to the bracelet. So let's close that out. And as you can see, she is going ultra fast. And unfortunately this isn't the best background for it, but she does in fact have the bracelet there. Let me remove the boots so it's a little bit easier to see. There we go. You can just barely see the bracelet on this side. You can barely see it on this side. And she is going considerably faster than Rainbow Dash with that buff on. Now, let's have Pinky shoot this thing a couple of times. And as you can see, those gems dropped when I did that. They went flying. You can see a tiny little sliver of a bracelet here on top of the heart. And you can just barely see a flag fluttering in the breeze behind. So I'm just going to grab those. And let's go to the inventory here. There's in fact 2 bracelets in your inventory. If I drag it out, then obviously this stacks. Pretty much all items in your inventory are stackable. Like I drag one of these red rain pants up, it goes from a stack of 4 to a stack of 3. These little yellow boots, stack of 5. Now it's down to 4. And you can see the little yellow rain boots on her, but they don't show up because she's yellow. So I'll pick Aqua, and there they are. But now let me show you what happens if you have a bracelet equipped, and then you try to equip some type of jacket. Let's just go with this plain yellow one. The bracelet gets ejected to the inventory. It was a stack of 1 before, now it's a stack of 2. When you equip an item that blocks another slot like this, the slot turns completely blue. In fact, I do this for other things. A long coat will prevent you from using the overskirt slot. And having an overskirt on will block the tail slot. There was a tail cover here. I only created 1 tail cover item in the whole game, but as long as you have an overskirt, the tail cover slot gets blocked out. So I do create blocking item properties like that. If this was a high fantasy game, I'd probably set things up so that you can put a 2-handed weapon into your weapon slot, but then that's going to block out your shield slot. And these let you scroll around in the inventory. It's on either side here. At first it was just going to be here, but then I realized people are too used to having scroll bars on the right and on the bottom, so having them on top just doesn't make sense. Having them on top for vertical equipment and having them on the left for horizontal equipment, that just didn't work, so I added a second scroll bar for that. Anyways, that's how you create an equipable item. That's how you get it to show up on the character while they are in the play area. It's also how you get it to show up while we're in the equipment screen. So I'm very excited about this. I've always wanted to have a sort of a dress-up mini-game within the main game, and this essentially gets me that. Long term, I'd like to have that on NPCs as well, but that's got to wait. I have to work on the properties of the game that are going to make players the most excited. And what I'd like to add is customizable attacks for NPCs. Right now, if you want NPCs that attack you, you have to stick with standard enemies like this one, like Zappo Topaz here. That one has that electrical discharge attack that goes downwards a little ways. It's not that it's bad, it's just that it's way nicer if people who are designing their own fan games can create attacks that are what they want. And at this point, I don't have any attacks that NPCs are capable of doing other than touching the pony. So I want to add things like projectile attacks, melee attacks, lightning attacks, those sorts of things. Also, there will probably be attacks that send out signals, that broadcast a signal, much like the dialogue script command that allows you to broadcast a signal. There's going to be a lot of different possibilities. What I want to do is lay the groundwork for like one type of NPC attack and then build on it, adding more attacks after that. Like maybe I'll start with just the basic fireball projectile, and then later on I can add things like melee attacks, custom animations that play while the NPC is attacking. But the second foundation that I want to lay, as soon as I've laid the foundation for NPC attacks, is custom playable character attacks. Again, probably it's just going to be something basic like a cone of cold spell or a secondary projectile. But I definitely want to add things like elemental attacks that the game designer can choose which element they are, and they can even make up their own elements using the icons that I have. But we'll get to that later. I think that's about it for creating custom equipable items, custom equipment slots. You start with item properties and you build yourself up from there. So yeah, I guess that's about it.